All right, Shalom, brothers. All praises goes to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kadash. Double honors goes into the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, from whom I learned the truth. And much love and peace and blessings goes out to all the hopeful elect brothers that are teaching the word of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, as well as the sincere, hopeful elect that are out there listening and repenting, coming back to your God, Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. So this is going to be a kind of like a historic lesson, which I want to get into the concept of there being Israelites amongst the Elamites, right? Because when you look at who the Elamites are biblically, those people today would be considered the people from India, like parts of Bangladesh as well, those type of areas, all the way west from India unto the modern Persians, which are the Iranians. Even though, you know, in Iran you have a mixture of people, they mixed in with a lot of different people, but the main subculture, if you will, or the nation that's in Iran are Elamites. And historically, the original Persians and everything were Elamites, you know, like from the point of Cyrus the Great and his descendants and all that house of the Achaemenid Empire, right? You know, as well, they were known as the second rulership. When you look at the book of Daniel, those people were Elamites. But amongst these Elamites, even on the way down to today, from then until today, you have our people that scattered amongst them that may be speaking their languages and committing those customs and so forth, but they're actually Israelites, and Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is going to save a portion of those so-called Indians or Iranians or Afghanis or Pakistani people, you know what I mean? Those amongst those people, even though that, you know, that's generally a heathen nation, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai has scattered our people amongst them, you know. And in these last days, the Most High is going to put the spirit on them to wake up to their identity and repent. And the most Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai is going to save those people, you know, because that's part of Yahweh Shai's sacrifice. He didn't just come for people in America that know they're Israelites. They're Israelites all around the world, you know, and they look like different people, you know. They may look like an Asian or a fucking, you know, a Japanese guy, whatever, but they're Israelites. I'll just give one key example before I get into this article. Salakia, I don't mean to drag on this introduction, but Rui Hachimura, right? He has a West African father and a Japanese mother, and he's dark skinned. He has brown skin, but he kind of has so-called Japanese features. Now imagine if he would have had, let's say his great grandkids, they all had so-called Japanese mothers and grandmothers. Then they would look just like a fucking Ammonite. But their spirit, you could tell their spirit is not an Ammonite, you know? They're Israelites. So I'm gonna get into this article because it's a good history about, you know, Israelites that traveled all the way to the land of Elam, which is modern day India, and was living amongst them. And some of them lost their heritage, and some of them even to this day know that they're Jews. So this is an article from 1951 from the Jewish Telegraphic Agency. It says Malabar community of black Jews decides to leave for Israel. The 1900-year history of Malabar black Jews in India will shortly end, according to a decision of 1,800-person community, which has no quarrel with the Indian government or its people. Its members will migrate to Israel. The black Jews, so-called because their skin is dark, came to this country following the destruction of the Second Temple of Jerusalem in 70 CE. So their history, these Malabar Jews out there in India, they go all the way back to the destruction of the temple in 70 AD. Because a lot of our people, yeah, they did flee into you know, towards the Atlas Mountains, and eventually made their way to West Africa, but some of our people fled east and they went all the way to India. And even further than that, a lot of our people went into China. They went into Japan. You see what I'm saying? So there was a point at that point in time, the Israelites all around the earth. And then how much more today as our people start multiplying and their descendants live on to this day. It says, at that time, the local king of Malabar granted the Jews the same rights and privileges as other subjects and exempted them from taxation. And I don't believe these people to be like Khazars or anything like that. I think they were real Israelites. It says, it says their leader, Joseph Rabban, was granted the following privileges: to ride an elephant, to have a state umbrella, and to call out clear low caste from the street upon his reproach. The language of these Jews is the same that is spoken by other residents of the state of Malabar, except that it also contains a mixture of Spanish and Hebrew words. So there you have it, Let's go to some other articles I have pulled up. Now these are Siddhi people. They live in India, but their ancestry goes back to East Africa because of the Arabic slave traders that had captured these people and brought them all the way to India. So it says Siddhi, also known as Siddhi, Siti, Shidi, or Habshi, are an ethnic group of inhabiting India and Pakistan. Members are descended from the Bantu peoples of the East African region. So a lot of us brothers here in the United States, that ancestry goes back to slavery. Our ancestry is actually from Bantu people, because Bantu is like a generalization of all those different tribes out there in West Africa. Now, amongst them, you got some Hamites, but they're mostly Israelites. You just look at their flavor, their music, their culture. They're Israelites, man. So those same people were put into slavery and sent all the way to India. It says some were merchants, sailors, indentured servants, slaves, and mercenaries. The Siddhi population is currently estimated at 270,000 to 350,000 individuals. That's a lot of people. And not to mention, let's say, for example, someone left the community and was mingling amongst other people and had descendants. So these numbers can be in the upwards of millions of these people out there, man. It says, let's read a little bit of history. You see this picture right here? This guy is Ikhlas Khan, African Prime Minister of Bijapur. So this guy was a prime minister. So our people was raising him in prominence. You see, this guy is dressed real regal, but he's an Israelite. He's a so-called black man. So our people wasn't always on the bottom and slaves and all fucked over. A lot of our people rose to prominence, and they had armies and castles all throughout the world. It says the first cities are thought to have arrived in India in 628 AD at the Baruch port. Several, and that's spiritual, because that word is very similar to the word Barak in Hebrew, which means blessed. It says several others followed the first Arab Islamic conquest of the subcontinent in 712 AD. The latter group are believed to have been soldiers with Muhammad bin Qasim's Arab army and were called Zanjis. So even our people from this, at that time they were warriors. They called them Sanjis, which I won't read the rest of this because I don't want to drag this lesson. I was just showing you examples of how, you had our people amongst the Elamites. So this is a different article I read, History of Jews in India, right? It says the history of Jews in India reaches back to ancient times. Judaism, or in other words, keeping of the law, statutes, and commandments, was one of the first foreign, and that's to be totally separated from modern Judaism, because that Judaism is just is trash. I'll put it like that. It says Indian Jews are a religious minority of India, but unlike many parts of the world, have historically lived in India without any instances of anti-Semitism from the local majority populace. The better established ancient communities have assimilated many local traditions through cultural diffusion. So that shows you they were mingling, and a lot of them, those people over there since those ancient times, are people that was over there in Elam, lost their heritage to where they don't know who they are to this day. Some of them know, but a lot of them don't know. Okay, so let's go down a bit, because this show you like all these different instances, right? You got Jewish groups in India coaching Jews. You have Madras Jews, the Beni Israel. You have South Asian Jews and Baghdadi Jews, B'nai Manash. Where some of these people are actually Elamites. I'm not gonna lie. Some of these people are Elamites that took on upon the so-called religious aspect of the Bible, but they're not really our people. But a lot of them are really our people, you know. So, matter of fact, I don't want to read any of this. This is something else. Because it's a lot of history when you get all into it, man. Because you had this different article of India's African kings, and these are, you know, some of them could have been Hamites, and some of them could be Israelites, because, you know, our people were heavily concentrated in the land of Ham. You know what I mean? Because African is just a modern denominative of what Hamite is, or the land of Ham. I'm going to just read a little bit of this article. It says, Razia Sultan was one of India's most valiant queens, and history tells the tale of her suspected liaison with her confidant and ally Jamal-ud-Din Yaqut, a great relish. Whether or not they were lovers, we will never know, but the outrage that this alleged dalliance sparked in the 13th century Mamluk dynasty is well recorded. Much of the resentment against Yaqut arose from the fact that he was a slave turned nobleman of African origin, and not from the Turkish clique that dominated the nobility in the Delhi-based sultanate. Conferred to the title of Amir al-Umara, Amir of Amirs, Jamal-ud-Din Yaqut was therefore the first African to occupy a prominent position in India, which that can be debated, because you had different people that come from different lands that always rose to prominence, but this guy was just someone that was very significant, and he was a slave turned nobleman. You know what I'm saying? Because our people, we're supposed to carry those attributes, man. Even though we in the lowest state, we're not supposed to behave like niggas. And our ancient people, you know, our ancient forefathers understood this, and that's why they were able to rise from being slaves to, you know, sitting in positions of rulership, because it's within us. The law, statutes, and commandments, all the wisdom of our forefathers is within us, and it shines as we're amongst these heathen, you know. So I'm gonna just, that's all I want to get. So just reading that, man, I believe this guy was an Israelite, and he more than likely has descendants that are still over there. So I'm gonna get a few scriptures. This is the book of Acts, chapter 2, verse 5. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Now you better believe one of those nations was India or Elam. It says, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. And they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? And how? Because the Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai gave the disciples spiritual powers to be able to talk in the languages of our different brethren that were scattered all amongst the people. And you know, these Jews, quote unquote, because they were really Israelites, or they were from Yahweh, they were they knew that they were Israelites. But this, you gotta think about it like this. This was over 2,000 years ago, right? So by process of time, a lot of these people's, you know, from the time of this miracle when it happened, a lot of these people's descendants went back into their lands which they were from, and they had lost their identity. Because what happened 70 years after this instance, right? When the disciples got spiritual power to speak, the temple was destroyed. So many of the Jews that were scattered abroad that would come to Jerusalem every year, 3 times a year for the feast days, they were no longer able to come and offer sacrifices. So they had to do it in the lands that they were. And like I said, a lot of them lost hold of their traditions and their identity, because that's just what is prophesied to happen to us. You know what I mean? It says Parthians and Medes and Elamites And the dwellers of Mesopotamia, which that's like ancient Babylon, modern day Iraq, and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia. Asia, those are different areas and islands throughout Turkey. It says Phrygia, Pamphylia, in Egypt, in parts of Libya about Cyrene. Libya is North Africa. It's west of Egypt, but it's North Africa. It says Cyrene and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes. So even our people was in Rome. It says Crete. Crete is an island of, the Greek archipelagos. It says, and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongues the wonderful works of the Most High. So, hey, that was beautiful, man. Our people, and that shows you that even at that time, you had our people that was just everywhere, just scattered, because that's what Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shai had did to us. So this is Zechariah chapter 2. Chapter 2, verse 6. It says, Ho, ho, come forth and flee from the land of the north. And what is the land of the north? America. Saith the Lord Yahweh, for I have spread you abroad as the four winds of the heaven, saith the Lord. You see? So our people are scattered everywhere, man. They're everywhere. All the way down to parts of South America, Mexico, the Caribbean islands, Europe, so-called Africa, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, China, Russia. Our people are everywhere because that's what the Lord said. And that's what he did. So this is Isaiah chapter 11 and verse 11. This shows you how when he's coming back, he's coming to gather our people, man, that are amongst these heathen nations. This is Isaiah 11 and 10. And in that day there shall be a root of Jesse, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek. And who are these Gentiles? They're not heathens. They're actually Israelite foreigners, which are called Gentiles. Because of what? Because their behavior, what they do, they be worshiping these other gods and into Christianity. And like the topic is the Elamites, right? So if you have our people amongst them into fucking Hinduism, man. That's just the thing. It says, and his rest shall be glorious. And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again, the second time, to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. So everywhere, and specifically Elam. You know what I'm saying? So you never know, man. When you come across these, these guys out here in the gas station, these Elamites, some of them could be Jake. And I believe, like, as I was growing up, this was this one girl. She was an Elamite. Her parents owned a gas station that a lot of Jake always went to, but she was always cool with Jake. She was always vibing with Jake. And I believe it's because she was a Jake. She was just an Elamite foreigner that was scattered. And, for whatever reason, she's amongst her people again, her real people, So hopefully this lesson was edifying for you, brothers. All praises goes to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'Hashem, Rakakwadash, and Shalom.